The film opens with a man waking up buried alive in a massive pit of corpses. He has no memory of who he is or how he got there. Then suddenly, a woman throws him a rope from above and vanishes into the woods. While crawling out, the man finds a pistol among the bodies and searches for his mysterious rescuer. But she's already gone. Lost and confused, he stumbles through the forest and soon reaches a remote house. He cautiously prepares his gun and enters, only to find several strangers arguing about something. He quickly points his gun at them and demands answers, but another man points a shotgun at him, accusing him of murdering everyone in the pit. Just then, he notices the woman who helped him escape the pit earlier, and desperately asks if she knows him. But she can't speak, she is mute. Soon, a terrifying truth emerges. Everyone in the house woke up in that pit with no memory. They only know their names from the ID cards they found: Michael, Sharon, Nathan, and Lucas. Strangely, the pistol man has no ID at all. The mute woman tries to communicate by writing, but her words make no sense to them. As they explore the house, the mute woman shows Lucas strange injection marks on her arm, identical to his. Meanwhile, the pistol man finds a calendar marked with one date, the 18th. It has to mean something important, but he can't figure it out. The mute woman seems to know, but none of them can understand her. So the group continue exploring and enters a room filled with guns, lots of guns. That night, the group notice the mute woman running into the woods, to which the group split up and follows her. And soon, stumble upon a horrifying sight: multiple dead bodies tied to the trees. While panic sets in, the pistol man suddenly starts having violent flashbacks of himself dragging the body of a woman with a seahorse tattoo. Elsewhere, Nathan and Michael search the house and realize all the books are about medicine, anatomy, and disease. Back in the woods, the group reaches a small shed where they find the mute woman feeding an old woman who is tied up, barely human and clearly sick. But just as she saw the pistol guy, she immediately launches an attack, but he knocks her unconscious. Then Lucas notices a camera in the shed, which means someone is watching them. Sharon insists they help the woman, but the pistol man refuses, convinced she's dangerous and unstable. The next morning, the group splits up again. Michael stays behind to guard the house with the mute woman, while Nathan, Lucas, Sharon, and the pistol guy head back into the woods. There, they once again find bodies tied to trees, and deep in the bushes, they discover 2 hidden cars. Back at the house, Michael confesses to the mute woman that he feels a deep connection to her, and she seems to feel the same. But their moment is shattered when a scream. Michael rushes toward the sound and reaches an open field, where he finds a man trapped in a fence, injured and begging for help. Michael moves closer to save him. However, the man suddenly attacks, wrapping wire around his neck and piercing straight through it. Meanwhile, the group in the woods tries to start the cars, but soon realizes that the fuel is very low, which won't be enough for them to make it to the city. As they panic, the mute woman suddenly appears, frantic, and leads them back to Michael. But before the group could do any help, he eventually bleeds to death. Enraged, the pistol man shoots the attacker, and the gunshot unlocks more memories. Visions of himself loading weapons and executing infected people. Afterward, the pistol man and Sharon drive off in search of help, and arrived at an abandoned building, where a young boy spots them and locked himself inside a warehouse, refusing to open or speak. Later, calls him by his name, Jonah, and warns him to leave, saying they're coming tomorrow. Shocked, Jonah demands more answers, but the boy refuses to say another word. So Jonah raises his gun and fires at the locked door, trying to break in. But Sharon stops him, and in that moment they both felt a deep, familiar connection neither of them can explain. Back at the house, Lucas begins acting strangely, as fractured memories crash into his mind, leaving him unstable and volatile. The mute woman tries to calm him, but he suddenly turns violent and attempts to assault her, until Nathan bursts in and intervenes. Later, Nathan arrives at a shed and realizes he's been there before. He finds a pair of glasses and when he puts them on, buried memories begin flooding back. Then he sees the woman holding her dead daughter, to which he calls her Helen, and apologizes for what had happened to her daughter, but she attacks him, forcing him to lock her up. Meanwhile, Lucas discovers a hidden lab beneath the house, filled with medical equipment, surveillance cameras. He checks the footage, in which Jonah was injecting people. Meanwhile, Jonah and Sharon are driving back when a tree suddenly blocks the road. Then, they come across a group of lumberjacks who approaches, appearing helpful at first, until they suddenly attacks them. But soon they stopped, seeing the dead bodies hanging from the trees. Jonah and Sharon realize the infected are afraid of the smell. Later, Lucas confronts Jonah with the footage, where Jonah insists he remembers nothing. But Lucas knocks him and throws him back inside the pit. Upon returning consciousness, Jonah sees a dead woman with a seahorse tattoo, triggering fragments of buried memories. Next, Lucas storms back to the house, urgently telling Sharon they need to leave. But when she asks about Nathan, Lucas doesn't even recognize the name. His behavior turns erratic and quickly becomes aggressive. Sensing danger, the mute woman tries to escape, but Lucas catches her, pins her down, and attempts to assault her once again, until Sharon fires at him, but Lucas dodges the shot and disappears into the forest. Moments later, the mute woman runs back to the pit and rescuing Jonah. As fragments of the memories return, Jonah realizes something catastrophic is about to happen, so he returns to the abandoned building seeking answers, only to find the boy's family hurriedly packing their car to flee. When Jonah tries to stop them, the grandmother points a gun at him, accuses him of destroying their lives with his injections, and drives away. Then, Jonah checks the abandoned car and finds vaccine vials, triggering more memories of giving them to a man and ordering him to deliver them to the army. He also finds a photograph of himself and Sharon, finally realizing they were a couple. Suddenly, Lucas crashes into Jonah with a car, completely unhinged, and during their violent confrontation, Jonah finally remembers the truth. He was a doctor who developed a vaccine to stop a deadly infection, and although it worked, it erased memories temporarily. Jonah realized the previously dose had already worn off on Lucas, so he tried to inject another dose of vaccine on him. But Lucas attacks him, and in a desperate attempt to defend himself, Jonah grabs a stone and kills him. Then more memories floods back. Jonah finally remembers that Lucas was his teammate, but got infected when an infected woman with seahorse tattooed broke in because of Nathan's carelessness. So Jonah had to kill her, and later drag her body to a massive pit. But soon, the infected broke loose, and Jonah ordered everyone to lock themselves inside and inject the vaccine. But when Jonah himself was bitten, he injected himself and jumped into the pit, knowing he would survive but lose his memories. In the present, the group begins to regain their memories, but soon the infected surround the house. Sharon and Nathan fight back until their ammunition runs out, and knowing they may not survive, Sharon writes a note for Jonah. Elsewhere in the forest, Jonah encounters several infected closing in, when suddenly a helicopter appears out of nowhere and opens fire, wiping them out. It is the morning of the 18th, and Nathan finally remembers that this was the day the rescue team was supposed to arrive. Believing they have been saved, he rushes outside, waving his hands, but the soldiers are under orders to exterminate everyone, and they shoot him dead. Jonah arrives moments later, helpless to stop it, and rushes Sharon to a hiding place, where the devastating truth hits him, that Nathan was his brother. Soon after, Sharon is attacked by an infected woman, forcing Jonah to headshot her. As the soldiers closes in, Jonah and Sharon, left with no other choice, jumped into the pit among the dead bodies. Jonah injects Sharon with the vaccine again before injecting himself as well. Before losing consciousness, Sharon hands Jonah the note and begs him to remember everything next time, and they share a final moment of love before passing out. Shortly afterward, the military returns and begins throwing bodies into the pit. Sometime later, Jonah wakes up to find Sharon dead from her injuries, and her note lying nearby, but he remembers nothing. Helpless and confused, he starts shouting for help. Just then, the mute woman appears once again and throws down the rope. In the end, we learn the contents of Sharon's note, which reveals the truth about the plague and confirms that the mute woman is the only person immune to the disease. Sharon urges Jonah to protect her at all costs because she is humanity's last hope. Tragically, Jonah knows none of this and must piece everything together all over again. With that, the movie ends. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more.